First, we talk to Thin Lizzy's Phil Lynott, a man not averse to a little variation himself. He'll be telling us how Thin Lizzy managed to play hard rock and still stay commercial. We'll be playing early versions of Lizzy's Chinatown hit single, and also the backing track of another popular live number, Sugar Blues. From Lynott's own solo career, we hear how Yellow Pearl rose from the ashes to become the theme tune to Top of the Pops. And also there's a demo and finished track from Lynott's second solo album, which is released next month, so that's an exclusive preview coming later on. But before that, we go back to 1976. Thin Lizzy were just breaking big in this country. Although they were playing hard rock music, Phil Lynott was standing up for songs. It's been a traditional ethic with the band. The song comes first and the riff comes second. And it was particularly true with their hit, The Boys Are Back in Town.
I take that down to the boys, the rough outline. And then I think it was Brian Robertson or Scott, I'm not sure, who came up with the guitar riff over it. And I think that's one of the things Lizzy has always tried to do, is to have a song and then put the riffs to the song, rather than make riffs the song, I had most of the lyrics done to that for ages, and I couldn't get the hook line, I couldn't get the boys are back in town line, and yet it sounds really natural. I was calling it G.I. Joe is back. The kids are back in town, and then I thought that was like the Who, the kids are all right. And you'd think the boys would come to me, and it wouldn't, but I could not think. I knew it had to be somebody back in town, and I was going around for about a week, just waiting. I knew the word, and I knew when it'd come, it'd be right, but I couldn't think. I was wrecking my brains. It was a case of overthinking, and somebody just said to me one day, see, the boys are playing up and such. I went, that's it. Just went mad in front of this guy, and he's going, what? I'm just going mad, it's okay. As the boys are back in town, I said, that's the word I've been looking for.
So that was the song that saw Thin Lizzy reach the top of the charts, and they've been consistently successful ever since. Now, Lizzy are one of those bands who do most of their demo versions in the studio, and then work from there. In this program, we'll be playing early backing tracks and seeing how they develop into the finished records. As Phil Lynott will tell you, there are various ways that Thin Lizzy come up with songs, the inspiration usually coming from him. But in the case of Chinatown, their hit single last year, the lead, just by chance, came from the guitarist Snowy White, who was messing about in the studio. Lynott heard the riff he was playing and immediately built a song around it.
Chinatown basically is a blues chord progression, and that was it. And then there was the old Irish traditional diddly 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 diddly, and the rest was like an arrangement that the band came up with, at the rehearsal. But that's like, for example, that's how a song like that would come along. I was working in Chinatown, we were doing the album in Soho, and I'd done solo in Soho there. I was in Chinatown every day, so I was being influenced by the place. So I just thought, write lyrics about, the seediness of the Chinatown area. I've always found an association with misfits simply because, rock and roll, there's people in rock and roll are supposed to, be misfits of society and stuff like that. So there's an affiliation there. So when I was writing the lyrics of Chinatown, when I was being influenced by all this, I thought I'd write about the people that don't survive that, in the rough part of Chinatown. I know there's a good side as well, but it's the The evil side was, I'm a bit like newspapers, I just go for the techie stuff, you know.
You better look around. Man, you don't stand a chance if you go down into Chinatown. Man, you don't stand a chance if you go down into Chinatown. Laughing and crying, you know that it's a fact. They're not laughing, they're crying, 'cause they won't be back. Oh no, you don't come back, not from Chinatown. Man, you don't stand a chance if you go down into Chinatown.
You've been hearing the rough backing track of Chinatown with Phil Lynott singing something called a guide vocal. Now this is a vocal performance that will eventually be scrapped to make way for a better one, but it's there just now to give the rest of the band an idea of the song's structure. The backing track is a stripped down version of the thing that comes out on disc. Lynott explains the Lizzie approach.
What we would do then is when we'd put down what is called a backing track, where there'd be a guide vocal, there'd be two guide guitars, and there'd be the bass and drums, and we'd get the bass and drums right, the sound, the way we want them on them, right first. And then we'd put on, say, some rhythm guitars, you know, where they play the rhythm guitar lines, right? And we'd do two of them. And then they'd take their solos, right? And then maybe backing voices. And then I'd sing the thing, and then we'd mix the whole thing, and out it comes the single, or album, whichever.
I think the secret is with that band is the same as with the Police, that they're so tight after doing so many live gigs that recording comes quite easily. Just lay down the backing track, put on the guitars and the vocals, and there you have, out comes the single. It makes you wonder why some bands take 6 months to do it. Another method that the band have got of developing their songs is actually through their live performances. They're noted as a great in-concert band, and if you've got that Live and Dangerous album at home, you'll know what I mean. It's probably one of the best live albums on the market. Many songs have been born out at the sound checks and then perfected on stage before they get into the studio. Sugar Blues was one of those tracks, and it was so good live that Phil Lynott's not too sure that it should have been recorded in the studio at all. Now we've got a very rough backing track with us. It has no vocals on it, but notice how it comes to life on the finished record.
Sugar Blues was very a spontaneous thing, you know. It's just it was just a good riff, and we just hopped on it, you know. I thought it was a number to play live. I mean, it's an atmospheric number. So sometimes the studios can inhibit songs, you know. Other times it embellishes stuff, you know.
And Sugar Blues, the original backing track and the final recorded version by Thin Lizzy. And it's interesting to note the change of speed between the original backing track and that final recorded version. And if you were listening to the first program in this series, we were talking to Midge Ure about Ultravox. And if you remember their Sleepwalk single, the original demo sort of shuffled along at quite a respectable pace. And the final recorded version of Sleepwalk cracked along like an Olympic sprint. So a couple of similarities there. But between you, me and your stereo, I think Phil Lynott wasn't convinced that that particular recording worked. Probably see Sugar Blues live and see what he thinks of that. However, from Thin Lizzy, we stay with Phil Lynott himself, who's got quite an illustrious career. Because apart from being the guiding light within the band, he's also has a blossoming career as a solo artist, and he's just about to release his second album under his own name.
With Thin Lizzy are a unit, you know, and as a unit we have our own sound, and I enjoyed playing as a group, and the whole object of going into the studio is to try and capture the band, you know. You know, with the solo stuff, I'm just experimenting, you know, so I go in and whatever mood is on me, you know, is what I might put down on the tape, you know, so, and there doesn't have to be rhyme nor reason to what I'm doing.
Just play and see what comes out. It's a good philosophy, and he does stick to it. His first album, Solo in Soho, took him far away from the sound that he'd made popular with Thin Lizzy. This was a completely different artist. For his solo material, he starts writing on synthesizers, and it opened up a whole new world for him. He started reflecting the contemporary influences of the time, because synthesizers were increasingly popular a couple of years ago, and attracted new admirers in the process.
We all must beware of the yellow pearl.
Quite a difference on that solo track, Yellow Pearl, from the material you heard earlier from Thin Lizzy. Now, the electronic influence came primarily from Phil Lynott's collaboration with Midge Ure. Now, Midge was a long-time Lizzy fan, and he'd been asked to join the band for tours of America and Japan. That's when guitarist Gary Moore went missing, for want of a better word. Now, Midge Ure, in between jobs with the Rich Kids and Ultravox, accepted the invitation to travel the world. And it was during the Japanese tour that Midge and Lynott wrote a few songs. One of them was Yellow Pearl. The story of Yellow Pearl goes something like this. Midge Ure started by hammering out the keyboard riff, and then Phil Lynott joined in, and a song was born. Pretty simple, huh? Well, when they got back to London, they used a whole bunch of electronics, synthesizers, drum machines, and vocoders brought the song a little more life. And if you don't know what a vocoder is, pick up a Herbie Hancock album. He uses it all the time. Tacky little sounds is Phil Lynott's description. Top of the Pops were looking for a new theme tune, and the producer, who'd heard and liked Yellow Pearl, asked Lynott to come up with one. Yellow Pearl was adapted to suit the purpose, which sounds a bit like an easy way out. Midge Ure reproduced it and added drummer Rusty Egan to give the track a bit of clout. And after 3 attempts, it became a hit single.
It was more just about impressions of Japan, really. The idea Yellow Pearl, funny enough, came about because the two teams that beat Manchester United recently in the final both wore yellow. We all must beware of the yellow. You know, Liam Brady's team and Larry McMenamy's team. You know, so they both, and so that was one. And the attack thing, I'd seen that at a Millwall game. They were going attack, attack, attack.
Yellow Pearl by Phil Lynott. You may have guessed that he's a Manchester United supporter, and in case you're interested, the yellow teams in question were Arsenal and Southampton. And now for the final track in this part of the programme, we're going into the future. We have an exclusive on Capital. Phil Lynott has given us a track from his forthcoming album, which is due out in about a month's time. Now, the track is called Old Town, and we're going to play that next to the early mix to give you an idea of how radical Old Town, which you'll find on the new Phil Lynott album. Don't know the title, but it should be out in about a month's time. Quite like that. How to play it on the radio next.